Welcome to the We Watch This Movie podcast, where we sit down and dissect the latest and greatest in films. I'm not Dan Allen Movies, I'm Jackson, aka at Marshall on Film, and joining us again this week for episode 27, who would have thunk it, it's Dan! How are you doing?
It's a lovely day, Jackson.
Right. Well, moving on from that.
Ben Mendelsohn, Joel Edgerton in Exodus, starring Christian Bale. Everyone give it a round of applause. Great film. We love Ridley.
This is going to be the weirdest intro to not only this podcast, but any show ever.
Hey, we're two weird men geeking out. What's today's movie, Jackson?
Today, Dan, we're going to be covering a bizarre release that's just hit Shudder and is now available worldwide. We're going to be covering Host, a haunted Zoom call. But before we get into that, Dan, in the words of the legendary Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters, I've got another confession to make.
Oh, no.
Dan, last week, finishing up our episode covering I See You and that awesome interview with Adam Randall, shout out again, what a great conversation that was. Please check it out if you haven't. We set the challenge. You were to watch a Joel Schumacher film to celebrate his passing only recently, and I was to watch a Wes Craven film. But I got it wrong, Dan. Wes Craven didn't pass away recently. Wes Craven died, sadly, tragically, back in November of 2015. So I was only 4.5 years late.
You're joking.
I'm not joking.
Oh,
it's not like us here to not research these things properly at the We Watch This Movie podcast. So listeners, we're so sorry to have made this mistake again. But you know what? We did it. As well as watching Host for this week's episode, Dan watched 8mm, starring Nicolas Cage, and I watched one of Wes Craven's first ever features, in fact his second, The Hills Have Eyes, all the way from back in 1977. So after our conversation today about Host, we're going to get stuck into those movies. Dan, before we do, why don't we touch on some of the big news in movies this week? And what about some of the big news in our lives? What happened to us here in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia?
Tell me, what did happen?
Well, not a whole heck of a lot. In fact, even less is happening right now. Dear listeners, we have just moved from stage 3 restrictions into stage 4. We currently can't go any further than about 5 kilometres from our homes. Sadly, Dan doesn't live 5 kilometres within a cinema. I do, but they are shut indefinitely. So there's a whole slew of new releases out there that we just aren't going to be able to watch, which is quite tragic. We've had some companies come forward, you know, we're a part of this press junket and they want us to throw these screener at films, but we want that theatrical experience. It's all about watching a movie on the big screen. We don't want to be using our phones.
Now, if you're playing the movie on a telephone, you will never in a trillion years experience the film.
However, today's episode, we're going to be watching a movie that would suit a laptop screen pretty damn well. Wouldn't you say so, Dan?
That'd be creepy. That'd be real creepy. Yeah, today's episode is Host, 2020 film, available on Shudder. Right now, you can download it. It's a streaming service for horror films. This is a horror film, a slick 60-minute horror film, and it's set in Corona times, isn't it?
It's Corona time. Hey, it's Corona time right now.
Corona time.
I can't believe you got Wes Craven wrong. How did you manage that?
I think I just took a page out of your playbook and didn't bother to look it up.
But how did that come into your mind?
I think I saw something scrolling along the news feed and I just kind of put 2 and 2 together thinking, oh, Joel Schumacher's just passed and here's an article about Wes Craven. But it turns out the article was from some years ago.
Oh, my God. Oh, we don't...
The jokes write themselves.
We don't mean any disrespect. Well, it was a good chance to go back to these two classic directors' filmography and take a look at one each. So I've got a lot to say about... literally.
Someone should have his
last
morning
night.
coffee.
8mm. I've got a lot to say. And Jackson's got a lot to say about The Hills Have Eyes. Jackson, there's some news that I saw over on Disney. Now, they've decided that Mulan is now going to be a digital release.
Yes. A digital release on Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, but it's going to cost you $29.99.
Whoa, hang on. So I'm paying for a streaming service, but then I've got to pay to watch another movie.
Yeah, so look, we are going to watch it to give you guys our review and our opinion on Milan, but I'm very interested to see how many people are actually going to pay this amount of money to watch a film. $29 is absurd in my opinion. I wouldn't be paying more than $15. $20's pushing it. $29 for a film, even if you've got a family of four, the numbers don't add up in my opinion. It's not the same experience as a big screen, and you're not getting the camaraderie. I don't feel like you are. So, yeah, I just think it's an absurd amount of money. I was riding the coattails of Disney Plus just a month ago with Hamilton, and now they're back in the dumpster.
Is it so wrong for this big company to try and find a way to recoup some of the cops on such a major motion picture? I mean, people don't have to pay this money to watch this film. It will be available at drive-ins in places like the US, where some of these are opening back up. Here in Melbourne, Victoria, we're not getting any drive-ins, but many of the other states are. In fact, listeners, we know there are many of you out there who are currently seeing new release films in the cinemas, and we'd love for you at some point here to join us on the podcast. Shoot us a DM. We might tee something up. You and I, though, Dan, maybe we will be forced to pay that $30 price tag. Is that for a 48-hour viewing period? What's stopping us from, splitting the cost and we each watch it individually? Not much. Who knows? Maybe we could even watch it together over a Zoom call. Just don't be lighting any candles or bringing any spooky items, all right? Also in movie news this week, we've heard about some newer releases that are going to be dropping soon, and we are keen to check these out. So we've got a new Netflix movie coming, The Devil All the Time, with Rob Pattinson and Tom Holland. Charlie Kaufman has a movie coming to Netflix, which I am super keen about. And wasn't there a Ridley Scott picture you were hoping for?
Well, it was actually a TV show that was just announced, Raised by Wolves, sci-fi with our man Travis Fimmel. So it took me a while to get there. Travis Fimmel, and the cast looks all right. So the world building gave me a Alien Covenant / Exodus vibe, hence why I mentioned it at the top. Any of our listeners, I want you to message me on Instagram if you don't think Exodus is a good film, okay? Including you, Jackson. I will
not be messaging you because I'll be telling you right here, right now that you're wrong.
But did you hear about June? Denis Villeneuve?
What happened with Denis Villeneuve?
1 hour interview, brilliant interview on YouTube. You can find it. 1 hour interview with him, and he goes through this dream project of his. And goes into some details about what's happening and how he's trying to edit this down. And he said it's an absolute effing nightmare trying to edit this thing right now over Zoom.
I think all movies would be an editing nightmare, right?
Can you imagine the scope of this thing, though, and the budget and the pressure? Like, this is not ideal at all.
It's hardly an ideal scenario either. Something else that's being filmed right now, or at least is in midway through production, not only are we getting John Wick 4, but it's been confirmed, shot back to back, John Wick 5. The Keanu Sons, baby, continues.
No. I love John Wick, but give him a few years between. This is ridiculous.
Give me 6 or 7 of them, seriously. Just plug
nah.
it straight into my veins.
No. I'm sorry, it's just too much. They're going to catch up to Fast and the Furious at this rate.
What's so bad about that? Fast and Furious started off pretty piss poor and then got much better as the movies went on. John Wick started at the top tier and it's just getting better and better.
You can have too much of a good thing, and that is the prime example. So I wasn't exactly happy. Like, I really enjoyed all 3 movies. But I understand it's a financial thing. They're bringing in a lot of cash at the moment. He's really relevant. I understand all that, but 5 movies in the span of, 8 years? That's insane.
I'm not complaining. Well, Dan, how about we take a moment before kicking off today's review of Host to thank our sensational sponsors.
Yeah, and our first sponsor for today is ExpressVPN. With our code, our URL, expressvpn.com/WeWatchThis, you can get 3 months free off your 12-month plan. Keep your online activity... Keep your online activity from being traced and choose over 160 locations across 94 countries to keep your real location hidden from prying eyes. Access any content no matter what location. Say goodbye to block services and websites. You can also get it on mobile devices, Mac, Windows, Android, iOS, Linux, routers, and so much more. This is the best VPN service. Just give it a look, even if you're not going to purchase. Give it a real think and look, because this is very handy for every single household. Once again, expressvpn.com/WeWatchThis.
Fantastic. What an amazing ad read from our man at Dan Allen Movies. And we want to take a moment to thank our second sponsor for today's episode. And that's the lovely folks over at the PS5 Central podcast. In fact, you might have heard of one of their hosts. That'd be our immense editor, Dan Allen Gaming. Hosted by Dan Allen Gaming and Vikarth, the PS5 Central podcast covers all the latest in news, info, and rumours on the PlayStation 5. Their latest episodes also have them covering the Xbox Game Showcase. Games like Far Cry 6, they've done an in-depth spoiler cast on The Last of Us 2. In fact, you might not find a longer and more dissective, we might say, discussion on that game than their podcast. Go check them out. They support us and we support them. The PS5 Central podcast, available on all good streaming platforms.
All right, Jackson, without further ado, let's get into our review for Host.
This is not good. I told you not to disrespect the spirits. It could be something demonic.
Hey, this is all your fault! Not my fault, this is your fault!
Hang on, Dan. I'm getting a call coming in.
Jackson, are you there? Jackson?
I don't know what happened on that Zoom call, but I'm never using that application ever again.
This is Christian Bale speaking. Exodus was a good film. I'll see you later. Thank you. Hello, this is Ben Middleton. I'm calling in to say that this is the best episode of the We Watch This podcast I've ever seen. And this was Exodus was a good movie. Thank you. Hello, this is Gordo, the weirdo. Joel Edgerton. This Exodus was a good movie. See you later. Yeah, this is Christian Bale here. That was a good movie, that one, hey? Yeah, see you later, mate. Wow, all 3 of them called in. That was great. That was fantastic. I can't believe all 3 called in at the same time, you know? And I'm not sure why Joel had an American accent. He is Australian, so we'll I don't know, maybe he's got an upcoming role. You are red, and you are red, and you are crying of laughter. And Winter's behind me, my dog, thinking, well, what have I got myself into?
Who are these strange men living in your studio? Nothing out of the norm when we open that cupboard there. Dan, Host, what's it about?
It's about a Zoom call that goes wrong.
Okay, because I've got something else written here.
No. You watched the right movie. We don't need to hear a fake synopsis, Jackson. This is the last time. It's your last chance, okay? This gag has gone on for way too long. Listeners, message this guy and tell him to watch the right movie and give us the right synopsis for once in his freaking life.
All right, well, this has been the most awkward episode yet. Here goes, listeners. The right synopsis for the movie I watched this week.
No. I don't think you heard me, Jackson. Can somebody get this mother synopsis after this mother soup call. He broke me, and now I've broken him.
After David Kim's 16-year-old daughter goes missing, a local investigation is
For
opened,
fuck's
and a
sake.
detective is assigned. So we are covering Searching this week, starring John Cho, right? I've gone and done it again. Well, look, at least it's only 56 minutes that we've got to wait. Hey, editor, hit the rewind button. 6 friends hire a medium to hold a seance via Zoom during lockdown, but they get far more than they bargained for as things quickly go wrong. When an evil spirit starts invading their homes, they begin to realize they might not survive the night. Dan, host, why did you recommend this movie?
Heard a lot of good things, Jackson, about Host. Out of nowhere this week, it just gained popularity, was popping up in my subscription feeds, articles, things like that. I had never heard of it. It wasn't on my radar. This was a indie, low-budget film. As we said, 60 minutes long, set over a big Zoom call.
Less than 60 minutes.
Less than 60 minutes, 56 minutes to be exact. And not usually you get a film at that length. It's either, really short or over an hour and a half. So 60 minutes was interesting. But yeah, it's essentially they do a seance and shit hits the fan, doesn't it?
Yeah, shit definitely hits the fan. Yeah, is this a feature film, Because I did some research wanting to find out, does 56 minutes really constitute a feature film release? And does that mean we should be covering it here at the We Watch This Movie podcast? Supposedly it does. So the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, as well as AFI and BFI, the British Film and American Institutes, a feature film is something that runs for more than 40 minutes.
Oh, okay.
This movie, Host, originally began life as a short feature, but director Rob Savage, who we'll talk about here in a little bit on the We Watch This Movie podcast and our review, he originally envisioned it as short. They got enough usable footage, so it became a 56-minute feature instead. However, the Screen Actors Guild, the SAGs, they assert that a feature's running time has to be 75 minutes or longer.
That's what I thought. I was going to say that. I thought it was 75 minutes.
When we break down what a feature film actually means, well, a feature film is something that would fit feature programming. And back in the day when you would go to the cinemas, you'd typically get a short movie as well as maybe like a newsreel, and then you'd get a feature. So it's something that would have to fit a certain amount of time. And I think the minimum at around about 40 minutes, while it's a little bit short for today's standards, a movie like this at 56, it's just the right amount of time. It comes in lean. It's not bloated. If it was something like, a Paranormal Activity film or other found footage movies where there's a lot of the same gags and the same tricks played out again and again and again, then it probably would start to hurt and you'd really start feeling its length. This, though, spot on. Dan, I'm glad you recommended this movie. We have explored some different and subversive movies here at the podcast, and while this doesn't quite fit into the the realm of being surprising or shocking, it is fucking frightening and suspenseful. I don't know about your viewing experience, but I watched this late last night before we're recording here on a Sunday afternoon. So I was alone in bed, 1 a.m. when I hit play.
Oh, that's great.
It was the perfect viewing experience, although it might have been made better if I had have whipped out the laptop lid and watched it.
Creepy.
Watched it with the laptop hunched up
with your
over me.
webcam on.
Oh my goodness.
I love how all the girls, all the ladies in this, they've all got on the corner, you can see like a door open, or it's just something to get your eyes away from them that just creates this uneasy feeling as well.
Yeah, it's like flashing back to The Invisible Man, where you're constantly scanning the screen looking for something that's going to move or pop out. In fact, I thought at some points it was a continuity error where we'd get a different light flicking on or a door. But it seemed to be that, it was designed that way. It wanted you to keep gripped, and I couldn't look away.
Yeah, I watched that.
In fact, this is perfect for this kind of movie, right? To record it over Zoom, because on Zoom, not only do you get your gallery view with a shot of everyone, but you then get your mid shots and then your close-ups as well of everyone that's recording. So it makes for perfect editing material. This could have been in one take for all we know.
I couldn't when I watch a horror, I try to keep it really dark. not many people around, really immerse myself in the world. Now, after a horror film, if I'm turning on every light in the house, I know then it's been an effective film. Because after this, I'm opening the door and I'm looking around. That's when you know you've been creeped out. So tick on the box for there. But if you want to, I always say, if you want to get the living daylight scared out of you, Home Alone, completely dark, midnight, Conjuring. Put it on. No one around. No light in the house. Come out of that and try to be normal. That is a creeper. But you get similar vibes here with this. I was
you
like
definitely won't be doing that mad dash to the fridge at 2 a.m. looking for your bag of cheese after watching one of these ones.
Oh, no.
My viewing experience, as soon as the movie ended and we had the credits rolling after the Zoom call, my TV screen went black and I went straight to bed.
No.
So I was fucking shocked.
Are you I had to put on Peppa Pig and turn the lights on. I couldn't do that. No way. I had to put something else on and take my mind off it. Because I was generally creepy, and it wasn't that creepy, but after you're done, it still holds with you for some reason.
Yeah, it was so suspenseful, and just the tension was perfect throughout.
I also like that it was set over Corona time. They mentioned it a couple of times. It made it a bit more relatable in a way.
For all we know, this was filmed a month or two ago. In fact, I believe it was.
I don't know how they did it, the VFX and all that, and so quickly. I think it's really should be commended. But I also like that the actual actresses' names, they use their real names in the film. So
yeah, I noticed that. We have Haley, Gemma, Caroline,
Emma, yeah,
Regina, yeah.
Yeah, even Ceylon, the science, what's the, not the medium, what would you call her?
Yeah, she was a medium.
Okay, yeah. Even she, that's her real name. And I know I'm going forward, but the credits, how it was in the Zoom, the participants in Zoom, I love that little feature. Did you notice that?
Wouldn't have been funny if Zoom hadn't have approved this film.
Hey, I don't.
There goes the whole concept.
Yeah. Well, did they have to approve it? I don't know how that works. I mean,
I don't know either, but it does have the word Zoom littered everywhere.
I didn't notice. Maybe it's just because I'm always on Zoom.
Well, it's not such a bad advertisement for their software, I suppose. We see the video backgrounds, we see some filters. It all seems to work pretty flawlessly.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure about the 4K resolution.
Yeah, I was going to say the cameras these girls have are quite good. You know,
it's the typical found footage film where it looks like someone shooting on a VHS recorder, but they're actually wielding like a handheld Hollywood quality cam.
Yeah, I think they got a few red cameras behind those laptops. But anyway, no, it wasn't anything that took you out of the experience. And they did have some glitches and stuff at the start. So the way it was edited, it really did feel like you were in a Zoom call, in my opinion.
Yeah, and in this interesting news subgenre of horror, which you could call like browser horror, maybe like the dark deep web of horror.
It's a new genre.
Or even or even like a maybe not a supernatural, but a cybernatural terror. It is a new genre. It has been percolating and popping up in the last 10 or 15 years.
Unfriended.
Go back to some... Yeah, Unfriended, there you go. I mentioned Searching before. And even another one, I believe, called Followed, which is more about the, like going live and the influencer culture when some characters go to a haunted hotel. This has all kind of been popping up as a response to the Blair Witch Project. And the Blair Witch Project...
That was a pioneer.
Yeah, not the first of a found footage film, but certainly one that really took over the mainstream and blew up. And if not for the internet, when that popped out, then that might have never have been heard of. We certainly wouldn't have these movies. How does this kind of rank for you in this subgenre of found footage internet films?
Blair Witch is the absolute classic. I would say Cloverfield as well was quite good. Mm-hmm. But recently, Searching is my favorite. This doesn't quite go over that, because I really enjoyed Searching, and the way that was edited was phenomenal, and I liked the story in it. This would be a close second. I'd have this second. This is much better than Unfriended and all that crap that's come out similar to this. This is much more slick, tight runtime. They know I think the 60 minutes was perfect. You go 90 minutes on this, and you're looking at really lowering the bar. 60
Yeah,
minutes
and
was
it
perfect.
would have stretched the logic.
Correct.
Like what's meant to happen in 90 minutes? Does it all take place in one night? Do we wake up the morning after? That definitely makes it tougher. Who knows what kind of script they were working with, or if a lot of this was improvised. From what I heard, the director Rob Savage, he actually kept some parts of the script away from some of the actors in the picture, so that when there were scares coming, the others could kind of react naturally, and they weren't
Correct.
sure what was going to happen.
That's
So,
100%
spooky
correct.
stuff.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that concept, because that was something I told you about in Coherence, what they did in that. So they've brought it into this, and it's
What do you mean? Did they not tell some of the actors in Coherence what was going on?
no, they told them.
Oh shit!
Yeah, you didn't know that? Yeah, they actually the director gave each actor certain beats that they had to hit, like you need to leave this room, you need to do whatever you can to leave the room, and then they'd tell someone else you need to do whatever you can to not let her leave, and then he'd let it play out. And I love that concept of letting the actors just run free. So if they did this, it feels like they did that in this, and it worked.
Yeah, certainly. We've seen, I sent this to you before we recorded, Dan, and for our listeners, we might even share it on our socials, but this movie was inspired and almost made with a proof of concept in a viral video that Rob Savage actually put together, where he used some footage from the movie Wreck and spooked out his friends, many of which were the actors in this movie. And because he got such a natural and frightening reaction from them, I think that kind of planted the seed that if this works as a 2-minute video, why couldn't this work as a short or then later a feature film for Shudder?
It's a great concept. I want to see more of these films, although I feel like you can't oversaturate the genre too much.
No, it's going to get tired quick.
Yeah.
It got tired 10 years ago once Paranormal Activity came out and kind of gave another birth and just another run of found footage movies.
But
there's no way I'd be watching a found footage film in 2020 if you hadn't have recommended it for this podcast.
But that's the same as Fast and the Furious and the same as John Wick. Paranormal did the same thing. They did 100 sequels and it just lost all its appeal by the end.
Yeah, but that's because it was always the same trick again and again and again. There's only so many times you can have the rug pulled out
But
from under
John
you
Wick is the
before
same
you
trick.
Stop walking there.
In John Wick, you're going to get a guy who doesn't miss a shot. The action is explosive. It's similar.
Oh, come on. We got Halle Berry and dogs taking out all the goons in number 3. What more do you want from Parabellum?
Spoiler. No. Yeah, no.
We don't spoil anything here.
I'm really curious to see what Rob Savage. That name is pretty cool, by the way. Rob Savage.
That is a
Sounds like a
badass horror movie
WWE name.
If you're gonna make horror films, you want to be Wes Craven, John Carpenter, or Rob Savage.
Yeah, I want to see what he does next, because this was a real standout. And even these actresses, I'm guessing they're really excited after this. It's just hitting everyone's screens recently, and they're gaining a lot of popularity. They're no-name actors, really. They're not. This is their big break for them. So it's great to see.
Some of them have starred in some, or I shouldn't say starred, have featured or played extra roles in some major British releases. They all seem to be close friends, and many of them have worked on Rob Savage's projects before. I'd love to see maybe 2 or 3 of them pop up in this new feature that's been announced. Dan, have you heard that Rob Savage has actually now signed on to work on a supernatural horror being produced by Sam Raimi?
No, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
So just prior to this coming out, that had been announced too. So
they definitely
it'd
had
be kinda
confidence
cool to
in
see
him.
what happens.
They had the confidence in him, didn't they?
Well, I'm sure they saw a rough cut of this. The rough cut would probably be the final product, given what happens. So.
Do we know what this supernatural is about, or any details yet?
No, not too many details just yet. Who knows? Maybe nothing comes of the project. The world's changing every day, if not every minute, if not every second, given it's Corona time. So yeah, we are certainly intrigued.
Well, why don't we head into spoilers, guys? Once again, if you haven't seen this film, go check it out now. Download Shudder, or go on to shudder.com. You can do a free trial if you want. Watch the film and then you can cancel it if you really want to, or you can support them for a month or a year. There's
plenty of awesome horror movies and documentaries on there. I'm pretty sure there's like a 4.5 hour documentary just on 80s horror called Into the Darkness, which I've heard is highly recommended.
If you're a horror fan, this is the place to be. But if you're not, you can just go in and watch this film. So check it out and come back after you're done. Spoiler alert. So one of the gripes I had, Jackson, with this film was the character of Ted. I didn't think he was necessary. This sort of comedy relief character that came in for a few minutes there, and then he came back again with some really tropey stuff where his,
Bit ham-fisted.
his creepy little, what do you call it?
Music box.
Came back. You knew it was coming back as soon as he mentioned it. You knew it was going to come in. It was just a bit on the nose, that part, I would say. A little bit tropey. So if that was...
It was a bit clumsy, Dan, but I didn't mind having another character in the movie to kind of explore some of the social anxieties and insecurities that have popped up as a part of being in lockdown. So Teddy, who seemed like a longtime friend of the other girls, the other actors within this film, it sounds like to me that he's locked down with his girlfriend and her parents living in the English countryside, and he was obviously some distance from them. As a result of having this girlfriend, he now doesn't catch up with that other group of friends, so they don't hold his girlfriend in the highest regard, and that's kind of why he gets kicked off the call. And then we see that in some of the other characters. So Gemma is a little bit, I guess you could say, standoffish, or she's a little more cynical than Haley, who seems to be our protagonist. I'm using air quotes here. Sorry, it's not a video cast.
Yeah, she's the lead here, I think.
Yes, well, she's at least the first character we get, so she sort of is the audience surrogate, and she does stick around till almost the end, we can assume.
Yeah, we are spoilers now.
Yeah, as well as Radina, and it sounds like Radina had moved into an apartment with her only fairly new boyfriend, and her friends say, that's a pretty bold decision to move in not so long after, to be locked down together, and maybe that wasn't turning out as great as well. Did you think it was a little bit chilling there when Radina's boyfriend was chopping up the vegetables just as she was on the call? It was kind of like, is he going to come at her with a knife?
I know. I was hoping that would happen because they created this tension of him. He looked so creepy. That's one thing I wish they did. But then again, I love what they did with him where he just fell from the ceiling. That was so creepy, man. Like, that was brilliant. So
I know, we're waiting for the body to explode like blood. Something out of it was almost like out of a Sam Raimi film.
I just feel like it would have been creepy to see him like possessed. Like, they mentioned the possession of someone.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe that was Caroline's sister, but I'm not... it wasn't really explored either. They mentioned it a couple of times and then didn't explore it.
Oh, right, yeah.
That was another thing I'd say, could have gone a bit further there. But once again, the Ted character, I think that was the biggest letdown of the film. Everyone else, like, I like the guy. Like, the guy, he was a good enough actor. It's just in this movie, I didn't think he was necessary. And look, all the women in this, they're fantastic. Every single one of them has acting chops. No one lets anyone else down. So, and not that he lets it down, it's just his arc, I feel like, was very tropey and very generic.
Well, he didn't really have an arc, and that was the point.
As in, when I say arc, I mean the girlfriend, and he comes in towards the end. He comes in, he does his little joke, and then the spirit attacks him, and his girlfriend, it's really over the top where his girlfriend's, I think that was over the top. That was pretty over the top. That was over the top where she's hanging and falls into the pool. Did we need that much over the top stuff at that point? I reckon less is more for a film like this. Because once you go full hog like that, what's after that is less impactful. So, and that's what I felt.
Full hog after she gets her neck snapped and falls in the pool, and then Teddy ends up being burned alive. I suppose that kind of was the peak. And you're right, Dan. You can't really go anywhere from there.
Yeah.
But in what had been such a super low budget feeling movie, why not go down this route? If you can do this stuff with visual effects and make it work within the confines of a Zoom call, then just do it. Because I was certainly not expecting it. You cannot say you're expecting that kind of twist to happen. And his girlfriend's, we're saying Teddy's girlfriend, her character actually has a name, and it's the actress's name. That's Ginny. Ginny was actually the stunt double for Emma when Emma falls out her window and hits the table.
You're kidding.
It's the same actress. Yeah,
Oh,
so I guess if they were
wow.
going to have someone on as a stunt coordinator, why not put her in the movie as another character?
This is great. This is all that sort of stuff
Yeah,
I
so
love
what
to
a
hear.
tightly weaved project.
And I told you before about how Haley's partner had a rope around her and pulled her for some of those scenes where she gets pulled out of her room.
Yes,
and they VFX'd
what an
it out.
inspired bit of What an inspired bit of filmmaking where every character, because everyone's in lockdown in quarantine, it's made during Corona time, all of them have to do their own visual effects, and most of it's done practically within, I guess, shooting from, I mean, it's probably a red-eye camera, but could even be from a laptop lead. From what I read, Dan, everyone did a virtual workshop to learn these skills. How cool is that?
Yeah, and even the makeup for, I think it was Caroline, where
Yep.
that was another creepy scene where the call kind of glitches out and you see her smashing her head. That was really
Speaking of creepy
confronting.
and spooky, how was her animated background, her walking to open the drawer? Were your eyes just glued to that every time it kept coming back?
Yeah. Oh, and just how even the filter on the face, was that Regina's character where she's...
That was Emma.
That was Emma, and the face is just sitting there, and then it turns. I mean, I knew it was going to turn. It's like, what's that movie, Annabelle or The Boy, where they're dolls, and you know that they're you're waiting for them to move. You know what I mean?
You're waiting for it to turn its head.
Yeah. I got that feeling, but even going back to Caroline, how she's smashing her head on the laptop. She said that she got in a call with a makeup artist, had to apply the makeup herself with being told by the makeup artist over Zoom, and then apply it, do the scene. 15 minutes later, apply more, do the scene again. It's just crazy the way they've gotten around quarantine to make this film. I find it fascinating, every part of it.
Yeah, the behind the scenes here is certainly intriguing. Is the behind the scenes far better to talk about and to research than watching the movie? I think it was still a pretty good watch.
No, I'll be recommending this to a lot of people, and this is one of those films I feel like it would have done really well on Netflix. It's a little bit of
Yeah.
a shame. I feel like it would have really hit stardom on Netflix. I don't know if it will. Look, it's number one on Letterboxd right now, and we'll get into your segment just after this, but it's number one on Letterboxd right now. It's picked up a lot of steam, and let's just say 100,000 people on Letterboxd get onto this thing. It only takes one or two out of those 100,000 people, one or two to recommend it, and just the word on the word of mouth to flow on, and for this thing to get even bigger and bigger. So we hope it does, because this is the sort of filmmaking I want to see success. Gain success. Garner that success, because they've tried something different and it's worked. And yeah, I mean, I wish them all the best with this. This film just came out of nowhere, didn't it? So
Yeah, innovative might not be the right word for it, but what is going on here is expertly crafted, be it the editing, using some of the Zoom footage, and then each actress just absolutely nailing their performance really puts this one over the line as a recommendation. Dan Allen Movies, what device would you recommend our listeners watch this on? We talk about the theatrical experience being best and perfect for movie going, but what about for host?
I mean, I still think, I honestly believe still the big screen, as in a big TV in a theater room, if you've got access to one. If not, laptop?
Laptop?
In the bed, yeah. With the door slightly open behind you. And
Not on your phone?
No one around. No, I mean, the phone could probably work. Sorry, David Lynch, but this movie might have a chance with the phone. Do you agree?
I disagree. I want to recommend this to someone, and I'm going to recommend that they watch it on a laptop.
On a laptop, yeah.
I want to hear what that experience is like, because it is perfect for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a different one. I would have liked to have seen it in theaters too, though. But I'm not sure.
For a lockdown gimmick, it works.
Jackson's Ratings.
IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, audience score, and Letterboxd.
Host has only dropped in the last few weeks, listeners. So as far as statistics and ratings goes for this segment, it's early days, but it has been positive. So let's talk about it. IMDb, first cab off the rank, 6.8 out of 10, from just shy of 1,900 user ratings at the time of recording. By the time, listeners, you hear this episode, be it in a few days when it first releases, a week or even a month's time, whenever you get round to it, we're just happy to have you around. It'll probably have a heck of a lot more. We want to hear your thoughts about it. Rotten Tomatoes, Dan, so far, 38 critics have submitted reviews for Host, and all have been fresh. This right now is sitting at a 100% fresh rating on the tomato meter with an average score of 7.9 out of 10. So it's been very positively received. Will this stand the test of time in 5 or 10 years' time? I don't know. Maybe we'll still be in lockdown. Maybe we'll all be gone. Let's hope not. A little bit nihilistic there.
Jesus Christ. Are you all right, bro?
Oh, look, I did watch First Reformed in the last week, so you could definitely say I'm a man in crisis.
You told me that. Far out.
Don't worry. We'll get into that one here at the show. On Rotten Tomatoes as well, 78% of audiences have given this a rating of 3.5 out of 5 or higher. It's got an average rating of 3.94 out of 5, almost a 4 out of 5 or an 8 out of 10 for our listeners here from 85 ratings. Again, hasn't been widely seen just yet, but we want to implore you to go check it out. It's another film that we can recommend here at the show. After Artemis Fowl on 365 days, I don't know how many more stinkers we're going to be doing. But, you know, with the Kissing Booth 2 just sitting there on the horizon, who knows? Metacritic, 72 from 100 from only 6 critic reviews. And finally, Dan said it before, the number 1 most popular movie right now on Letterboxd and our movie of the week, Host is currently sitting at 3.5 out of 5 stars and has been watched by over 9,100 users.
Only early days. It's only just come out. So.
Only early days. And you know what? We were early for Relic. We're early here for Host. Relic has gone on to be certified fresh and is receiving more and more critical acclaim. Congratulations, Natalie, Erica James again.
Sat on the back of our podcast as well, wasn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. When we're listened to in over 150 countries, available in more countries than ExpressVPN, although we're not going to disregard our sponsors, it has to be as a result of us here at the show. We're taking all credit for Relic, and here's another horror that we're going to steal.
I won't take all the credit. I'll take 95.6% of the credit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take 10% of the credit.
Oh, we've lost the plot. So, Jackson, it's gaining a lot of success on all those platforms. It's sitting around the 7s and 8s, it feels like. And like I said, I wish them all the success. I hope this goes on. Probably would have done a lot better on Netflix, but, you know, they probably had to, they probably gained some more budget through Shudder, I'm guessing. I don't know how.
To the best of my understanding, Shudder did produce the film. That's why we have the Shudder original logo at the very top.
I don't know how well Shudder do, because I heard about them years ago. They might have been one of the first streaming services, around when Netflix came out, but I could be wrong about that. So I don't know how well they do. They're still around, so I'm guessing they're doing okay. And it's a cool idea for horror fanatics, but
it's a niche audience, but isn't that what streaming services are all about? If it's appealing to people who are willing to pay $7, $8 or even a higher fee to subscribe, then more power to them. I'd much rather see a service like that pop up than another one funded by Rupert Murdoch.
Tell me, Jackson, would you buy a David Lynch streaming service? All it is...
I already do. It's on my television here, streaming 24/7. Just every Blu-ray on rotation.
All it is his films just back to back every day. You'd go insane.
I'm actually watching Twin Peaks in reverse.
Oh, no. With Host, just before we wrap up here, do you think it's going to gain any awards?
Sure, why not? How many other horror films have we seen released this year, or at least get major attention like Host is right now? So why not? Is this going to be Academy Award nominated? Well, for something shot on a Zoom call, I just don't think it's snobby enough for the Academy to take a look at.
No, I'm not talking Oscars or Golden Globes. I'm talking just, I don't know if it'll gain any awards, but, because it isn't, as you said, maybe innovative isn't the word, because, Searching was very similar, and other films.
It's a gimmick.
It's a gimmick film, so we'll see. But going into our final ratings, I had a great time, and for 60 minutes, that's I'm so glad they went for 60 over a 90-minute. Just so happy about that, because that just really elevates it. I can't say enough good things about that timing, what they did there. The acting's great. The suspense is there. Thrilling moments. Sometimes it goes a little bit too far. That's fine. And the ending left me a bit hoping for a little bit more, but that's okay. overall, I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10.
That's quite high marks. I like it, Dan. Listeners, while you're locked down, if you're looking for a scary, lean, suspenseful horror movie that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat getting sweaty and clammy for 56 minutes, we're going to recommend Host. For me, it's coming in at 7 out of 10 astral plane drinking games. Why not make this a bit fun? If you happen to be watching it with a partner or someone else over your own Zoom call, hey, pour out that tequila, pour out that red wine, and do your own drinking game.
But you know what it is?
Every time there's a jump scare, take a shot.
No, what they should have done for this podcast, every time I mention Exodus, take a shot, they'd be drunk.
Well, how about we speak to our excellent editor at Dan Allen Gaming, and he can go back and add that at the start.
He's not going to. Anyway, there you go.
Well, just like last week, is this something else? Oh, no, this is coming in at higher than I see. This is coming in at a 7 out of 10 or 3.5 out of 5 stars. So this is rated quite well. Yeah. I don't know which movie's better.
Yeah, it just depends.
It's a bit of a toss-up.
Ask me depends what day, and I'll give you a different answer. But today it's Host, so 7 out of 10 from us.
Dan, before we get stuck into the movie challenge, we received a very interesting DM on our Instagram at We Watch This Podcast from one of our faithful listeners, Midhun. Midhun listened to our Prestige episode, loved it, loved our in-depth conversation on the plot and the ending and all the intricacies. He wasn't as impressed with our Inception episode. He said we didn't go in-depth enough. Despite the episode running just shy of 2 hours,
what do you mean,
he wanted more. He needed more discussion.
What else did you want me to
Dan's giving
say?
me an absolute... He's shocked.
What else did you want me to say, brother? I swear we covered everything that film had to offer.
He sent in a question. So, Dan, we want to hear your take. All right, here we go. He's called you a Nolan aficionado. I think Nolan fanboy or Nolan connoisseur fits the bill, but aficionado, another fantastic
that's
$5
the new
word.
nickname, okay? Don't worry about fanboy. Aficionado. Margaretti.
Antonio Margaretti. Margaretti.
Here we go. He wants you to shed some light. In Inception, Dom Cobb, Leo's totem, would spin infinitely if he was inside his own dream.
Yep.
But if he was inside someone else's dream or reality, it would spin normally. Could he really tell whether he was in a dream or in reality?
My mind just exploded. No. Well, no. You're right, Midhunt. That's a possibility. But Nolan himself has said that the true canon ending for this film is the good ending, where he's escaped and he's back to reality. So that is the canon ending that Nolan even says. He left it up into interpretation, but he believes, the man that wrote it believes that the interpretation that's real is he gets out and he is back to reality. But that is a possibility. What you're saying there, of course, that's a possibility. But then it's talking about what we said in the podcast, where it's too much of, it's up its own arse at that point. We're going way too far with the story and the elements that are within it. So you can say it's a dream within a dream within a dream, as we could sit here and say that for hours and hours, but it's...
And we did.
We did. But to go even one step further, I just think you're going too far then. So it's a possibility, but no, I don't think it's the case.
That's a fair point, Dan. Director's intent is important, and in a broader sense, authorial intent is important when considering art and considering literature and film and TV, however you happen to be consuming these forms of entertainment and media. But the best kind of art, and all of it, especially cinema, I believe, should be open to interpretation. So just because a director has come out and said what I wrote down is what happens, doesn't mean you can't consume it how you like and interpret it.
No, that's what he would say.
Wish.
That's what he would say.
That's right. So even if Nolan says, no, this is what happens, come on, mate. I'm sure on the other side of the coin, if he might say that on Monday, but catch him on Tuesday, he'd probably say, no, it's open to interpretation. There we go, listeners. 27 episodes in. We still had to fit fucking Nolan in here. All right, Dan, you posed it. I was sent away to watch The Hills Have Eyes. This is a movie that would have felt a heck of a lot fresher when it first came out in 1977.
Yeah, I know, right?
It would have had a much stronger bite. The bark is still there, but it's just not as fresh now.
Can you try and see it with the eyes that you're back in the day, or can you just not get that experience?
I did kind of put on those goggles.
Yeah.
It's hard because the movie does have this kind of dark, twisted sense of humor, and it's super low budget. Went on to make a killing at the box office. I can see why, because it's super gory, and is quite dark. At some point, it starts to feel a little bit like a trauma movie, where you're not sure if you should be laughing with it or laughing at it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I did enjoy myself. It is tough to watch today in 2020. You put on those goggles and yeah, it works for the most part. Is it tense? Yes. What are some of the pros? The script, because they are working on such a tight budget, works very well. And the direction from Wes Craven, you can tell he has this zeal for the project and a passion for it. And it comes out in some of the actors' performances, even if they're not great. And trust me, there's some shocking acting in this movie. Everyone is trying, and they're trying to do some interesting things with some of the handheld camera work. At times, it kind of feels very French New Wave in how he's got the camera right up in someone's face and they pull it back. It doesn't feel like something that was shot in the 70s. It's gritty and it's dark, and I like some of those aspects. Also, the editing is great. It just moves and steams along, and despite coming in at 86 minutes, because it is so tenseful, it just keeps you moving, and it never feels like a slow burn. Even when there's not much happening early on and that it's kind of building and that tension's coming through, it just continues to pace. Would I recommend it to today's audiences? I don't know. Even movies that came out not even a decade later kind of do this concept better. For me, Dan, it's going to come in at 5 out of 10 dog-eating cannibals.
That's pretty harsh. Are you sure you had those goggles on? 5 out of 10. I guess so.
I wanted to go higher, but there was just some of these low budget aspects just held it back. I watched another movie that came out in, I believe it might have been the same year this week, and that was Saturday Night Fever, starring John Travolta. John Travolta, I should say. And yes, the budget was bigger on that, but that's another low budget film that feels much slicker. So it's really hard.
Are you a fan of these films like a Texas Chainsaw or a, Nightmare at Elm or Freddy? All these classic characters. Are you a big fan of those sort of series?
You know what? When I was much younger, I'd say yes, and I enjoyed some of these horror movies a heck of a lot more than I do now, which is a little sad. I've just kind of grown out of them and moved on, and it almost feels like they're a bit naive in some aspects, but I don't know.
Because I remember watching...
They're not really for me now.
I remember watching The Hills Have Eyes, the 2006 film, back when that came out, so I would have been, I would have been like 13 or 14, I don't know. Whenever I watched it around that time, around the teenage time, and me and a friend, we were laughing. We were getting quite a good chuckle out of this, the crazy horror and stuff. And when you're at that age where it's not scary, it's sort of a little bit funny. We were at that stage.
It is kind of the point.
But it's kind of the point, isn't it?
77 film. It's kind of the point.
Yeah. So I'm more of a fan of a creature feature like a Jaws or an Alien rather than a slasher film. So I'm probably with you, but yeah, I might have to go back and give it a watch, and maybe 5 is fair. But I thought you'd go a little bit higher, to be honest.
Yeah, I wanted to go in for a 6 and even at some points a 7.
Yeah.
The casting of someone like Michael Berryman, who gives such an iconic performance and just has such a frightening look about him. I mean, he became a horror character actor just after this one role.
Yeah.
Things like that work, but then with some bad acting that takes you out of the film and some, I guess you could say, like chase sequences that just feel a little bit clumsy.
Okay.
It doesn't always hit. Wes Craven would go on to do much better work. You said it, Dan, A Nightmare on Elm Street. That's an iconic series. Scream,
which he did as well, we should say, yeah.
Yeah, and Scream, which absolutely, totally destroyed and then revitalized all in the same movie, the slasher genre back in the late 90s.
I can't believe he's done all
Not
three.
thought about as much now, but yeah, the guy has done some amazing stuff.
The fact that he's done all 3 of those franchises is a testament. Yeah, incredible.
Absolutely.
So I went on to watch 8mm, which I wasn't excited for. Nick Cage, Joaquin Phoenix. And I got to say, I really enjoyed it. And this film cops a lot of flack.
I must be honest, I threw you under the bus for this one.
Yeah, I thought, I'm in for something here. You know, this is Nick Cage. He's going to be unhinged. I'm waiting for him to do this, like, you know how he at some point in a film he'll go crazy or do something wacky.
Or like Face Off or The Wicker Man.
Yeah, but in this he's just normal the whole way through. I was waiting for it, but he's actually really cool in this. He's likable, and I loved his performance. I got to say, I'm a big Nick Cage fan. I've as much as he's done a lot of stinkers over the years, I still enjoy the guy. Off the field, in real life, he's probably a whacker. He's had 4 wives. He's got problems. We all know, but on screen, there is a presence about him. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. This is the screenwriter from Seven, which I recently watched as well with Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt. And some people make the case that this is a better film than Seven. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far. But it definitely, for a snuff, about a snuff film, it was very disgusting. Some of the things we got into here, it's very disturbing.
Very gross.
Very gross.
Did you have to take about 6 cold showers afterwards?
Yeah, very disturbing, very gross film. So some people might be a little bit taken back and might not be able to go through. But for me, even though it was disturbing, this stuff is probably real. That's another thing that's a little bit sickening about it. This sort of thing is probably still happening, which is a little bit hard to stomach. But it's a thriller. It's that's my favorite genre. So maybe that pushed it over the line. But it was 2 hours long. It flew by. Joaquin Phoenix was great in it as well. I can't remember him having a bad performance. And definitely not a perfect film. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I would recommend you watch it. Seriously.
All right. What was your final rating?
I came in at a 7. A 7 out of 10.
Oh, another 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Is that your go-to?
Apparently, at the moment, it's a go-to. I've given about 10 sevens recently.
God, that's funny. I remember you, I thought you sent me a text here, maybe, 15, 20 minutes in, saying this is an abomination.
It was, yeah. No, I was 5 minutes in, and, it had barely kicked off. So I had my mind made up before I'd even watch it. But I was pleasantly surprised.
How excited are you to check out more of Joel Schumacher's filmography? That is a very dark and dour film.
Well, I have seen a lot of his films, but I am keen to see some of the ones I have missed over the years. And same with Wes Craven. 2 classic filmmakers that are going to be missed. And yeah, I want to go back, and even just Nick Cage and Joaquin Phoenix going through theirs as well. I really want to watch Face Off again. I think I'm going to watch that this week.
Oh, we might have to do a face-off drinking game. In fact, I might have some rules there I can throw in the hat for you. Every time there's slow motion, every time there's a crazy John Travolta or Nick Cage moment, just try not to die.
That's one of the classic 90s action films of all time, in my opinion. So I've got to go back, I think, and give it my final rating for 2020.
All right, nice. I like it.
Yeah, so besides that, I think I might watch Face Off this week. We're going to cover, what are we covering next week? Project Power.
Next week, listeners, we will be covering the new superhero Netflix released film, which is coming on August 14th, and that's Project Power, starring Jamie Foxx, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Machine Gun Kelly, of all people. And that one's being directed by some people you might have heard of, maybe the creators of Catfish the movie, the TV show, and some of the Paranormal Activity film directors. So that's going to be one bizarre watch, an $85 million budget off the back of Catfish. Who knows what we're getting?
When is it out in Australia, Jackson?
Well, listeners, if you're listening to this when this episode drops, which could be Monday or Tuesday, we'd be getting it a few days later here in Australia on August 14th, which is Friday.
Beautiful, yeah, because Netflix usually release everything on Friday, new films or new, just in ready for the weekend, and it's always worked for them. Extraction, Murder Mystery, Friday night. They get a lot of viewers and over Saturday and Sunday, so they've obviously got that formula down pat. I wonder how this will do, Jackson. Do you reckon it'll hit the top 10? I don't think it will.
It'll remain to be seen. Is Machine Gun Kelly enough of a stunt casting name like Post Malone? No.
Tell me this now. I'm going to say it's not breaking the top 10 by the end of the year. You know that list we said of the biggest,
you love
Netflix,
making your big calls, mate. You love making these big bets.
top Netflix films, top 10. Will this ever hit it? I'm saying no. I need your answer now. Yes or no?
What, are you speaking of a best of or a most watched?
Most watched.
Given the current climate in the world, this is going to make the top 10.
Okay. There you have it. And the loser.
If The Wrong Missy can come in at number 1 or number 2, surely this can get number 10.
All right. And the loser of this will come back at the end of the year. The loser of this has to watch Cats. All right.
Get a Cats tattoo even.
Yeah, there's always a tattoo involved somehow, even though we both don't have any tattoos. All right. That is it for today's episode, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk about these lovely films today. I didn't watch anything bad this week. Finally, I went through the week completely happy. So it was a great week.
I'm so
for me.
glad to hear it. And Dan, you know what? You said that I didn't watch enough movies in July. In the last 7 days, I watched 7 films. And who knows, we might talk about them in some future episodes. And there is the audience applause playing in the background right now. Thank you. You love me. You really love me.
Thank you, Jackson. You need to I want you to hit 15 a month. You reckon you can do that?
15? If I've done 7 now, I can definitely park it for the rest of the month.
15 a month, I reckon, is perfecto. I'm going for 30 this month, so wish me luck.
Wow.
Anyway,
what a life you're living.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. I am Dan Allen Movies on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, MySpace, SoundCloud, LinkedIn, TikTok, Snapchat, Reddit, Tumblr, Vine.
Not Letterboxd, though.
Letterboxd, Vimeo. I can't think of any more, but I did pretty well. This isn't being cut, bro. This is all live, baby. Where can they find you?
Listeners, you can find myself, Jackson, aka at Marshall on Film, on your favourite social media platform. I'm available at Facebook, Letterboxd, Instagram, Twitter, even on TikTok. I'd love for you to drop me a DM. But listeners, we want you to check us out. The We Watch This Movie podcast at We Watch This on Facebook, Letterboxd, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Please give us a follow, send us a like, rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, drop us a follow. We can't wait for you to tune in next week. Episode 28, Project Power. It's right around the corner.
And guys, send us a DM what movies you want to see us review on this podcast. Just flick us a few and we're going to get to some old classics along the year as well. So
just don't make us watch First Reformed just again, please. I need some time.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week for Project Power.
Thanks for listening.